just bothers me how much I'm haunted. Why should I go back if I'm unwanted? Say goodbye, I'm done with the uncertainty. Welcome to my channel as usual, and I'll be breaking down my Biting My Tongue album. And if you haven't listened to it yet, please do, or else why are you watching this video? And if you have, I hope you really liked it. I put so much blood, sweat, and tears into that shit. So like, yeah, if you've listened to it, thank you. And if you didn't like it, totally respectable. But I'm basically gonna break down like some backgrounds of each song, my commentary of what it's about, and like how it fits into like a storyline of the album, you know? So the first song on the album is called Recognize Me Now, and it's such a fun song. It's very upbeat, unlike the rest of the album, which is very moody. It's one of the few songs that have like a positive attitude towards it. I was not very happy while writing this album. I was going through a lot of tough situations, but yeah, it's a song about dreaming big, and like, you know, there was a point in my life, especially when I was transitioning into high school, where I was eager to make a name for myself one day, and that's where the song was kind of born out of, like that mentality. And yeah, I thought it was a good song about like setting the bar high for yourself and like setting a big goal for yourself moving forward in life. And I thought that was a good opening track for the album. I mean, the title is Recognize Me Now, okay? It's got to be upbeat and grab your attention right away, right? And yeah, originally the song was actually for PG-15, but at the time, I had only written the chorus, and I couldn't come up with a verse melody, you know? Like, I was, like, beating myself up about it, like, for hours. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to write a crappy, like, verse for the song, you know? I'll just wait, release PG-15, and then maybe I'll come back to Recognize Me Now. And yeah, I finished a verse for it, and it became the opening track, so... And I think it's a good opening track for the album because it does kind of set the tone of, like, this album is really who I am, you know? And it does explain a lot of things that I was going through at the time, so I think it was a perfect opener. Like, this is how I really am, you know? You could turn the fire to my heaven, and you bop me in the oven, let me sweat with dread and second guess myself. The second song on the album is called Apple Pie, and it provides some contrast to the song before it because it shows how you can have these big expectations for yourself, but if you yourself hold yourself back, you're never going to reach them. And I tried playing with that concept of like the devil on your shoulder, kind of making you doubtful, very envious of those around you, you know, and like those aren't good qualities to have, and you'll never like reach your dreams. You'll never become that person you want to be if you let yourself get inside your head too much, you know? And let me just say, this is like a perfect summary of me as a person. Like, it literally like describes all my flaws and like how I think of myself. Like, I was really reflecting. I was really deep in my head when I wrote this song. It was actually I was having a mental breakdown over an assignment. I think we've all been there, basically. The third song on the album is called Off Script, and this song was actually inspired by my love for dramatic arts. You know, anyone who knows me knows I love movies, TV shows, musicals, all that shit. And you know, it was inspired by my experiences as being a people pleaser. You know, there was a point in my life where I never like went against anybody. I always said yes to everything. And you can't live your life like that. It's okay to make mistakes, and it took me a while to figure that out. And yeah, it really marks a new chapter in the album because after this song, I really become my own person. I'm more self-aware, and I take control of the bad situations that I'm dealt with, you know? So yeah, that was a very inspiring song. The song is basically about like a dynamic, whether it be a relationship, a friendship that's gone sour, and there comes a point when you realize, you know, you have to say goodbye to something, you know, and it's very hard to walk away from something, but you can like try to make things work, but there comes a point where it feels like you're telling a story to yourself to make you believe it's real, but in reality, it's no longer real. Whatever bond you had with a certain person, it's no longer real, and that's what this song is basically about, like moving on. And I really like this song. It has such an amazing bridge. Let me just tell you, oh, when I heard that bridge, I was like, yes, nailed it. And yeah, it's actually the first song recorded for the album. I recorded it on my phone. It's actually, I think only, yeah, I think it's the only song. If not, I think there's another song that used my phone mic. Now I have this official mic, which is much better. But yeah, it was the first song recorded for the album, and yeah, it was such a, I liked the song. It turned out very well, and I liked how it really conveyed that pain that I was going through at that time. Because you're such a wuss. Sorry if I'm a little blunt. Okay, that actually doesn't sound that bad. The fifth song is called F.T.S.U, and it kind of shows how once you get that backlash, that's where kind of the gossip starts coming into play, you know, like people start talking about behind your back, and you trusted them. You thought, like, oh, okay, even though we aren't on good terms, or even if you are on good terms, it really does hurt when someone you trust talks behind your back and says bad shit about you, and sometimes you just got to be confrontational about it and be like, you know what, shut the fuck up, you know. Like, and yeah, the song was inspired like by movies like Mean Girls, and like I really tried using like the like telephone kind of sound effects to kind of, because like we live in a digital age, and that's usually where gossip erupts from, like, you know, texting, you know, like messaging. And yeah, this song is a very angry song, but like more tamed back. Like, you know what I'm trying to say, but I'm not gonna say it to your face, kind of like what you're doing to me, right? Like, F.T.S.U, shut the shuck up. I think we all know what I'm trying to say here, so I'll just leave it at that. So the sixth song is called Serotonin, and it's, let me just say, this is such a let loose song. It's very different. Probably the most similar song to like Recognize Me Now. It's very upbeat, you know, like we've had a few angry songs before it. Now this one's more let loose. It's basically about following, like having a crush on someone that you once could not stand, you know, like we've seen that trope everywhere in movies and TV shows, you know, like enemies to lovers. And yeah, I thought it was a fun song. When I heard the instrumental, I was thinking like 50s-esque, like rock, you know, like surfer music. I don't know. Don't quote me, but like that's where I was getting what I was hearing when I heard the instrumental. And it was actually the last song finished for the album because I had to change a few lyrics. And thankfully, you can't hear it in the final product, hopefully. But yeah, it's a fun song. Like I can already picture. I pictured myself doing air guitars in my room when I was listening to the instrumental. Like, it's such a fun song. So. You're just another hater lingering to watch me crash and burn. I think we all know Fuel because it was the second single off the album. Fun fact about this one, I actually found this out recently on my YouTube analytics. It's actually, I think, the fastest song on the album that got the most views under 24 hours. And I didn't even know that. Like, I was just fooling around on the analytics and I found that out. And Fuel is more of an empowering song. It's basically about like using that hatred, using that critique that people give you. You know, like we're always gonna get critiqued by someone. We can't please everybody, right? Like previously stated in the previous song. And it's about using those like setbacks to your advantage. And I was actually inspired by Cardi B's acceptance speech at the 2018 iHeartRadio Awards. And she said, "Thank you to all my haters." And I thought that was such a good mentality because like, I feel like we get so caught up in people's like opinions of us and their critiques of us that it sometimes forces us to kind of go back in our shell, but we can't really let that happen. You know, we should use that as a stepping stone to go up in our like whatever goal we have in life, you know. And that's where the fuel metaphor came into play. Like we don't eat gasoline, like it's not good for us to consume, but we should use that as an energy source or something to drive us to reaching our goals. So yeah. Yeah, then why should I have died? But you just roll your eyes. So there's something I should say. Everything I did was never enough. I tried to change, but you kept wanting more. If space is what you really want, then you can consider me gone. I give you. Consider Me Gone. This song was the first single off the album, and you know, it's like the final nail in the coffin of someone who's taking you for granted. You know, like you don't appreciate anything I do for you, so just consider me gone. And again, I use a lot of Evanescence inspiration in the song, you know, like the very ominous wails in the background. And the reason for that in the production was because it's supposed to invoke like the fear. It's very scary when you're stepping away from something that, or some bond you had with someone that you've diverted all your time and energy to, and just to like walk away from it, it's very scary. And you don't know what's gonna come of it, you know, like who do I turn to now? And it's very scary. So, but sometimes you have to let it be done because, you know, it's not healthy if you're in such a toxic relationship that does not appreciate you. So, yeah, it's such a fun song too. It's very upbeat, so that's why I chose it as the first single of the album. I thought it was a perfect song to start the album's release. Excuse my notifications.
No, you aren't allowed on the couch, Jeannie. No, Jeannie.
Okay, moving on. So, Beauty and the Beast. Ah, the song. It's like, it's basically about like a fairy tale gone wrong, you know, witnessing a relationship that's toxic from afar. And sometimes it can be painful. Like, it's basically about like having a friend who's in a toxic relationship and knowing that you yourself can't do anything about it. It's like you wish you could help them, but you can't. Like at the end of the day, it's their decision if they want to stay in that relationship or not. It it's kind of a song directed at like the toxic partner of the relationship. You know, I was actually inspired by a song called "Hard" by Why Don't We, which has a similar subject matter, and another song called "Cinderella" by Britney Spears, underrated by the way. And yeah, I liked how the song turned out. It was originally supposed to be a bonus track, but I changed my mind and was like, you know, the song is too good. I have to put on the album. So yeah, and there you go.
Oh boy, look at them arms. Oh, so buff online, aren't I? Get so paranoid by my speaking voice, so I keep to
If I had to pick a favorite off of the album, it has to be Man Up. You know, like usually I have like a list of all like the topics I want to talk about in the album. And one topic that I really want to talk about was like toxic masculinity. Like there's a lot of like standards that the media, especially the media, perpetuates, you know, like, oh, you can't cry, you can't show too much emotion, you have to be into sports, blah blah blah. Like, and it can really be hurtful to like people, especially young guys, you know, like me growing up as a 14-year-old boy, you know, it was a very tumultuous time. Like I didn't know who I was, you know, there was all these standards that I felt like I had to upkeep, and sometimes these standards are not meant for us, you know, and it's not healthy, it's very toxic. And I think that's why I like this song so much, because the first half kind of reflects on how this has affected my life, and the second half kind of changes, like switches the subject matter to things that should be taught to young boys. Like no is no, very important. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to look different. It's okay to look unique, you know. And I think that sometimes gets lost in translation because we're all constantly bombarded with this like mentality from like movies, commercials, etc. And yeah, I thought it was such a fun song to write. You know, it was one of the last minute songs added to the album, and it's a fun song, but also talks about like a very important subject matter that was very close to me. So that's why I like this one the most. Like they're coming to you, you know, like you've moved on. It's not like it's not like one of those songs where like, oh, I want you out of my life, or like I'm done with you. It's like I've moved on already, but you're trying to crawl back into my life. And this is what Don't Say You're Sorry is basically about. Like you're coming to my door, you're begging me, like I've changed, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. I mean, I'm glad you've changed, but you know, I don't want you in my life, so just don't say you're sorry. Just leave, you know? Like, if you were really sorry, why did you repeat yourself so many times, you know? And, like, it's like a final nail in the coffin of this person you're trying to let go. Like, I don't feel necessarily hurt, but I was hurt before, and I'm not gonna let that happen again. So, that's what Don't Say You're Sorry is basically about.
you are showing me bonkers, but now something has emerged. Got me looking twice, cause we
So, the next song is called Lost Connection, and this song is basically about, like, feeling like you can't feel that human connection when everything is virtual, you know? Like we are currently in a pandemic, right? And I was really reflecting on like things going on in my life, and there was one thing I was wanting to talk about, like how I felt during this pandemic, feeling isolated from friends, feeling everything virtual, you know? It's not the best. Like you feel like you're missing out on things, you feel frustrated, and it's not a happy place to be. You feel very lonely, you know?
Y'all, I'm actually shaking. Like, I don't, we're in commercial break, but I swear.
Okay, the next song is called To Be Continued. This song is basically about like my thoughts on graduation, growing up, becoming an adult, and trying to look at the positive silver lining in all of it, you know? Like the pandemic did take away a lot of experiences. So it's very important to look at what we learned during this time, you know? Like I was like trying so hard to write like a depressing song for graduation, but I thought it was very important to end off the album on a positive note, like be very hopeful. Like what did you learn? Like what new skills have you like acquired during this time, you know? And it kind of uses that metaphor of like a TV show being canceled, like the seeing the same set of characters and like locations suddenly end, you know? It makes you sad, but you gotta move on, and who knows what the future will bring, you know? That's why it's called To Be Continued. It has a positive outlook on what could potentially happen in the future. And then we have the final song on the album. It's called Biting My Tongue, and I think this song is such a perfect example of summarizing like all the things I wish I could have told my younger self, knowing what I know now, what I wish someone would have told me when I was younger. And I dedicate this song basically to like um, anyone who was in my shoes at that time of my life. You know, freshman year, it's a very stressful time. You're transitioning from childhood to teenager, and this song has a lot of messages I would tell, especially young teenagers, what I know now, like pieces of advice, basically. And I was actually inspired by Taylor Swift's song 15. And yeah, I like how the song ends off the album, like the phrase, biting my tongue is the last thing said in the album. And I think I did that because it's basically to show like everything in this album is stuff that I would not necessarily bring up in normal conversation, but through music, I was able to express myself in that way. So, yeah. And in conclusion, we finish the album commentary. Oh my gosh, this is like the third take. Let me just say that, I'm exhausted. But I hope you enjoyed my album, and I hope you enjoyed this commentary. So, yeah, I hope to catch you in the next video or song release. And yeah, catch you in the next video.